Welcome to episode number 1 of the Branding Laboratory. I am actually sitting with your host right now, Deevo Tindall. You are the host of the Branding Laboratory. I'm just Josh, and I get to kind of learn a little bit about this podcast and share this with our friend that's listening to us right now. This episode is kind of a movie trailer of sorts for the podcast. But Deevo, congratulations on the launch of your podcast, and so excited for our guest that's listening to us, or our friend that's listening to us right now, about the fact that they've discovered this podcast. Maybe I'll just have you describe what is the Branding Laboratory.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. The Branding Laboratory is a venue over a podcast, a platform where I'm going to interview CEOs that are from my purview doing amazing things in their environment, in their workspace, in their community, and really just sort of learn the secrets to their success and what they're doing to share their brand message and how they're marketing their business, how they're connecting with a larger audience, and really just sort of a high-level synopsis to get to know who this leader is and what they do, why they do it, how they do it, and the primary problem that they solve in their business venture.
You actually do have a background in podcasting, and I should mention too that you've had several successful companies of your own. Particularly, you're the founder and CEO of Fusion Creative Branding. And by the way, you also have a very strong personal brand at deevotindall.com. The website for Fusion Creative Branding is fusioncreativebranding.com. Do you mind maybe sharing a little bit about your professional background and what you do?
Yeah, no, I'd love to share a little bit. I was like everybody else. I jumped into the corporate rat race straight out of college. I was offered a really lucrative position in an executive development program in New York City. I was actually one of only 2 people from the entire world hired into this program. And it was fantastic. I spent 2 years in New York City, all over the country, moving from one area of the business to another. The idea was just sort of like a Swiss Army knife me, learn everything that I possibly could in 2 years, so that when I was graduated from the program, I would be put into a position of senior leadership. So myself and another woman named Angela were hired into this program. We spent 2 years. And then from there, I moved back to San Diego, which is where they gave me my first gig. And I spent 15 years working in project management and marketing and branding and technology, actually for a division of Bank of America is what it ultimately became. And then just somewhere in that space, about 8 years in, I started questioning whether this was the right opportunity for me, if I really wanted to spend my life sitting in an office or a cubicle working for someone else. And so I started to develop ways to utilize my true talents that were based in creativity and sort of like marketing and branding. I didn't know those terms at the time, and started playing around in the sandbox of creativity. I launched a photography business, and then I launched another business, actually a social business for young adults, and utilizing sports and social as sort of like a platform. I went on to sell that business in 2013. Anyway, it just kind of led me down the rabbit hole of personal discovery and really figuring out what my skills and assets were. And in that process, I launched Fusion Creative and ended up doing guest lectures and workshops, really for younger entrepreneurs who were sort of just getting started in their fledgling careers. And it just kind of, like everything else, it just snowballed. And I ended up here where I am today.
And tell me just a bit about who you work and serve, or who you work with and serve today. And if you can kind of use that to talk about why brand is so important in today's noisy environment.
Well, your brand is, I think a lot of times people confuse the brand with just a simple website or a nice logo, and then, it's done and we're ready to go out and market. And my purview is that branding is the foundation for your business. And branding is, just to sort of clarify, if I made the term, branding is literally every single touch point on your customer's journey. So that's how you answer the phones. That's your website. That's your social media. That's how your team speaks about your business. That's how you show up on podcasts. It's literally every single thing that a customer's perspective or perception of you is, that's your brand. And I found that in my journey that I was just explaining to you, that a lot of times entrepreneurs put marketing first, and then they wonder why their marketing fizzles out. It's because they've got buyer confusion. Nobody knows what they actually do, what problem they actually solve. And so I reverse engineered that and started working with these young entrepreneurs and said, let's clarify what this brand message actually is. What do you do? Why do you do it? How do you do it? What is your niche? What is like the primary problem you solve? And then I found that once we crystallize that, and they had clarity and they understood what they were doing and why they were doing and all those, cliche buzzwords that people throw around ambiguously, then they were able to share that message in a more focused and a more poignant way. And what happens is when you're speaking the same language as your buyer, you're sort of on the same level, right? And everyone's like, oh, I totally get that. Like, and then you build that emotional resonance with them. And so that's what branding is. And in a nutshell, I teach people how to reverse engineer their process so they understand why they started their business. Because we can't read our own label. We're stuck inside our jar. And then take that information and then teach them how to amplify that using traditional marketing, digital marketing, or all of the above.
Thank you, Deevo. And I would imagine to our friend that's listening right now, who's interested in this topic, they might know someone who would make a great guest, because this is very much going to be a conversation podcast. Who are you going to be interviewing? And to our friend that's listening, they likely know someone who would make a fantastic guest, and they should nominate them. But how would you describe your ideal guest for this show, The Branding Laboratory?
I don't know if it's hard to sort of just put it into one quick bundle, but I would say they're forward-thinking individuals. They're ambitious entrepreneurs. They are passionate about their business. They believe in the problem they solve. They started this big, juicy, audacious idea for a reason, and they're eager to elevate their brand to a larger audience, or just to connect with their ideal audience. They value authenticity, innovation, strategic thinking, and from my perspective, they're not afraid to take bold steps to stand out in a crowded market. They're willing to sort of put themselves out there and say, this is what I do. This is why I do it. Come hell or high water, I want to connect with you. And so I'm looking for people who are willing to have real conversations, candid, honest, transparent, vulnerable conversations about how they built their brand, how they want to connect in the audience, and ultimately, what's the legacy they want other people to perceive them for. And so that's my purview, is to put the highlight on these types of people and let them blow up into their own audience so other people get to know who they are and what they do. Because a lot of times, we get this imposter syndrome, right? We don't want to go out there and be like, oh, I'm not really sure what to say, or why me? It's like everybody else is doing the same thing. Well, the whole point is everybody else is doing the same thing the same damn way. It's your job to show up and attract a complete set of eyeballs that's interested in your unique perspective. And I want to put the spotlight on those type of people.
The website that our friend that's listening, where you would send your guest nomination to, or you can go yourself, you just go to deevotindall.com. That's DeevoTindall. Certainly, if you click in your show notes, you'll find a direct link to that. Now, what you want to do is click on podcast, and then you're going to see a button that says, hey, we're open to guests. Click here to apply, and that's exactly where you would go. And Deevo Tindall, again, you are found on the web at deevotindall.com. And of course, you are historically the founder and CEO of Fusion Creative Branding, and now the host of The Branding Laboratory. Deevo, congratulations. I'm going to switch chairs with you, let you take the hosting chair. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Josh. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity to have this audience as well.